Hello, magical people. My name is Lou, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we are going to be doing a reading in honor of the vernal equinox, or the spring equinox. This is the time of year where we start to see new growth happen, and we start to see new buds show up all around us out in the natural world. And it's a time of renewal and a time of new growth, moving forward, letting go of what's kind of been holding us back, letting go of that spirit of being, spirit of darkness, and the spirit, and I don't mean darkness as in good and evil, I mean darkness as in a time of winter, we often will look within, we'll become less social, we'll be less out and about in the world, and we become more inward focused. And in the springtime, we start to see that change as the weather gets warmer, as the plants and animals start to wake up, we sort of do the same. So I wanted to do a reading about that, and specifically looking at your energy, the energy that the equinox this time of year will be bringing to you, as well as the interplay between those two energies. So this is going to be a pick a card reading, and more specifically, it will be pick a blossom. So we have 3 of you to choose from. We have the Pear blossom, a Lilac blossom, and a Forsythia blossom. And I'll be inserting a still right here. And if you just want to take a couple of deep breaths, close your eyes, really tune into your body, and go with whichever one resonates you. It could be the color, it could be the association you have with that plant. It could really be anything. If there's more than one that feels like it's calling to you, then by all means, please do listen to more than one. And with that, we are going to go ahead and dive right in. Hello, pear blossom people. If you selected the pear blossom, then this reading is for you. So let's go ahead and see what we have. Let's see why I oughtn't do this. Let's go ahead and see what we've got for you. I already did pull meditated and pulled all of the cards in advance of closing. So, beautiful, beautiful. So let's see here. For oracle cards, we have Return of Spirit, as well as an animal oracle card of the fox spirit, Thinking on Your Feet. So that is interesting. Let's see what we've got here. So for your 3 cards, the 3 cards that represent you, we have the 5 of Pentacles, we have the Ace of Swords, and we have the Father of Cups. So that is a very, very interesting energy here. Obviously, with the Ace of Swords, that is it's a gift from the universe that is sometimes a truth, whether that's a personal truth or an objective truth. It's something that the universe gifts us. So sometimes that could be a change in awareness or a change in the way we think about things, or it could be just simply a new truth in terms of something that you found out in the world. The Father of Horns is particularly lovely energy, and I do especially really like that on this card because there's so much chaos happening in this card, and just look at the ease and dignity with which that Father of Horns is showing up to master all of that chaotic emotion. And then with the 5 of Pentacles, you know, that can often be a card of, I mean, interestingly, it's very apt that this is coming out right now because, you know, that late winter, early springtime can really be a feeling of scarcity and a feeling of lack. You know, there's lots of times it's like getting through those last little bits of where the darkness really clings can be the most challenging. You know, sometimes the first half of winter goes very quickly and then the second half just seems to drag on forever and ever. So with the energy of what is coming at you, or what the equinox is bringing into your space, we have the Six of Cups, and we have the Empress card, and we also have the Nine of Wands. And so this is very much, I mean, with both the nostalgia that's from the Six of Cups, this can be nostalgia as in somebody coming back into your life that was a part of your life in the past, especially if it was in your childhood. It could also be just returning to those feelings and those emotions of childhood and sort of the roots, the beautiful colored roots that made us who we are. And I think it's kind of interesting that the Empress card showed up here too, because we have not only the roots showing up, but also the new growth and the sort of abundant nurturing energy showing up. Now with the Nine of Wands, you know, it's oftentimes this can be a card of feeling overwhelmed. And what I kind of like about the way this depiction is showing up is it's a slightly different energy. It's like, yeah, there's some steps to take that may feel as though they're obscured, or that you need to move things out of your way so you don't trip on them. But, you know, once we get to the top, then we're more in alignment with, or more underneath, closer to that actual lightness, closer to the illumination of the moon and having mysteries illuminated. So I really do kind of like this energy, or this card, this rendition of this card. Now with the interplay between these two energies, we have the Knight of Swords coming in fast and coming in hot, so to speak. And we also have the Seven of Pentacles, which is certainly having done a lot of work, having to put in a lot of work, and taking a moment to rest and admire the amount of work that you've done, the bounty of the work that you've done. There is sometimes a little bit of a feeling of, it's a lot of work, along with this card as well. So I think that is pretty interesting. And then we also have the Queen of Wands showing up here. So I think that this is pretty interesting, the way this is showing up between these two dynamics. So, you know, we have your present energy coming out of this space of lack and discovering a new truth, or discovering a new way of thinking, or a new thought pattern that seems as though it was gifted to you by the universe. Maybe somebody has said something to you that or you overheard somebody saying just in passing, and it resonated with you for a way. So that really can show up in a lot of different ways. And then with the Father of Horns, so we have you coming from this place of feeling like there is a lot of chaos, that there's a lot of emotional chaos that you need to rise above, that you need to separate yourself from, that you need to be standing in your own truth. And, you know, but doing that from a place of coming out of a feeling of lack, and how that's being impacted by all of this new abundance that's coming towards you with the Six of Cups. It's interesting because the interplay between the Six of Cups and the Empress, the interplay that's really coming to mind here is that it is both a reaching back for the purpose of moving forward. And, you know, I think that that's kind of showing up in the cards that you've got here too. Like this, it wants to come in fast, it wants to come in hot, but then also the Queen of Wands is kind of being a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? She's being a bit more reserved in the way that she's viewing the interchange of these two energies. So maybe at this point in time, you might even be feeling as though there is much to be done, and that's not a bad thing. You don't need to have judgment. There's always much to be done. There's always more work to do. But it is this feeling of knowing both that you've accomplished a lot, but also knowing that the work is not yet done. And, you know, you may notice in your thought patterns that you're feeling a little bit of a dichotomy where you're both excited and ready to press forward, but also feeling as though maybe you want to sit back and observe and be in a place of observation from it. And I think what's interesting here is that with this fox spirit card showing up, with this thinking on your feet, I think, it would be good to remember that regardless of how you feel about these energies, time does continue to move forward. There's really not a whole lot that we can do with that. And so don't let these two cancel each other out and not allow you to get into that place of kind of like flowing between what has been done and what needs to be done. There's no need to sit in a place of judgment and say that you haven't done enough. There's no need to sit in a place and say and deny the fact that there is not a whole lot more to do. So it's kind of like coming to a balancing point between those two energies, is kind of how I see all of this interplaying. Now, I'm going to pull a couple of more cards here. Oh, and that one just jumped right out. Oh, interesting. And we have the Queen of Swords is the first card that jumped right out here. And, it's interesting because she's also holding the Sword of Truth, which is with that Ace of Swords card showing up is kind of reminding me of that. So, I think it would behoove you to keep in mind that as this new energy comes towards you, that you can use what you already have, this truth, and even this feeling of scarcity or feeling of lack and that energy, you can use that for the purpose of greater discernment. Okay, let's pull out a couple more here. I think also, I kind of glossed over it, but at the very beginning when I was pulling the Oracle cards and the Return of Spirit card came out, I'm wondering if maybe some of the emotional chaos that you've been feeling is perhaps feeling like you are disconnected from spirit in some way, and having a hard time tuning into it. Oh, that's interesting. The Knight of Swords popped out again, as well as the Knight of Wands. So there's a lot of, the knights are so there's the pages, the knights, the queens and the kings, and they're called different things in different decks, of course, but it's basically like 4 iterations of the maturation of the energy over the suit that they hold. And so here we have both with the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords showing up twice. It does really feel like perhaps like the word that is coming to mind is incoming. So, perhaps that is kind of hearkening back to this energy too, is that there's a lot coming at you and it feels as though there's a long road to go, and that may be true, but you can't expect a tree to blossom overnight. It takes years for large trees, and even for smaller plants it can take months for things to really come to a place of fruition. All right, so let's pull a couple more cards here and see what we see. It's interesting also that I'd like to just point out that with the Knight of Wands and with the Knight of Swords, that's the energy of both fire and air. And so, I wonder, there's not a huge amount of grounded energy in all of this reading. It starts off, in terms of the energy that's coming at you, it's kind of heady energy. And we also have the Devil card showing up here. So I feel like that is showing up to remind us, Pear Blossom group, that perhaps it would be in our best interest to, with all of this coming at us, remembering that, yes, Spirit is bringing us the fox to remind us that we do need to think on our feet, and there is a certain amount of cleverness that we need to have, and even slyness in navigating all of the different energies that are coming at us, and the amount of work and obstacles that might be showing up in our way towards reaching that work, or reaching a new plateau of achievement. But also, I'd like to remind you that with all of this night energy, which is very fast moving energy, we did also have 2 queens show up, 2 queens that are sitting on their thrones. And again, with the fire and the air energy, maybe sort of counterbalancing. So I feel like the Devil is kind of showing up to remind us that it's okay to be in observer mode sometimes, as long as we don't let that get it to the point where we don't do anything. And sometimes we need to be in observer mode. We need to be able to be sitting on our throne in a place of relative comfort and ease, so that we can tune into and witness ourselves and witness the things that we're doing that we're letting get in our ways. So sometimes the devil card can be unhelpful thought patterns or unhelpful habits. It can even be unhelpful people or having codependent or unhealthy or toxic relationships. So, you're really being invited with all of this change to take a look at how this change is bringing, what this change is bringing into your world. And, if we really want to step fully into this place of reconciling both our past and our future, and acknowledging our roots while also feeding that abundant mindset, then we do need to be able to have a step back and be able to objectively and without judgment observe ourselves. And I think the judgment part, it's interesting that just showed up here, because I'm really feeling like it, maybe you need to hear this. I guess is what I'm saying, is that being in observer mode, being able to witness what we do and how we do it and our motivations for doing it, and being able to discern out what doesn't work for us from what does work for us, that is all good stuff to be able to do. But where it's not helpful is when we say, oh yes, I see, I have been doing this, and that's because I'm bad. That's just because I just don't know what I'm doing. That's because I'm faulty. All of that is not helpful. Getting down on ourselves, beating ourselves up, not showing up and being our own best friend, none of that's really going to help us. And sometimes, for myself anyways, I almost find it easier to externalize a portion of myself. And by that I mean, if I'm observing something in my own behavior that isn't working for me, that isn't helpful, my sort of instinctual self kind of moves into a place of judgment about that. And that judgment actually really just solidifies things and keeps me where I am. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll imagine a friend telling me that they were in my position. So that way I can respond to them, because I've found that I am oftentimes a lot more harsh and a lot less gentle with myself, which is why I often will end videos with, don't forget to be kind to yourself, don't forget to be gentle with yourself, because unfortunately it is something that we so often forget to do, especially if we are empathic, especially if we are aware of wanting to move into a higher vibration or a place of more abundance. It's very difficult to do that without having that judgment, or while still having that judgment attached to us. So it's almost like we end up becoming the thing that prevents us from moving forward in this weird kind of backwards way. And it certainly doesn't have to be that way. That judgment isn't actually you. The judgments that we place on ourselves are usually programming that we received from other people that just really, it's almost like we incorporate it and we hear those tracks playing in our mind, and because they're playing in our mind, that makes us believe that they're ours, that it's us, that's our internal voice. But the reality is that our core self, our higher self, is always in a place of curiosity, kindness, and compassion. And so if we can remember that, then we can view the things that are no longer serving us, or the thought patterns, or the people, or the relationships, or the jobs, we can view those things through the lens of objective reality without getting bogged down in all of the judgment. Again, I feel like I've glossed over it now, even though I mentioned it. I didn't really, I'm this Return of Spirit card showing up. That's one of my favorite cards in that deck, because it always reminds me that Spirit is always there. It's not actually that Spirit returns and goes away, but it's more like it's returning you in a way that you can discern. So that leads me to believe the fact that that return of judgment, or that return of return of judgment, we don't need that return of spirit card, that one showed up is really telling me that perhaps you have been feeling like you were in a place where you weren't connected, and that has probably been contributing to that scarcity mindset. And maybe even that's the truth that you feel like that you've had, is that you are disconnected. And if that's the case, then it is a false truth, and that's maybe something that the devil wants you to look at, because the reality is that you are grounded, that you do have roots, you have managed to get to the point where you are now. So there has been sustenance, there have been things in your life that have moved you forward, that are can bring you a place of gratitude when you look back at them. And furthermore, this place of being able to move into this Empress energy that's coming at you, this is the reality. This is the reality of who you are. And Spirit is here to remind you of that. So even as you overcome obstacles, and as you feel as though perhaps it's challenging to keep climbing up the stairs and sweeping things out of the side so that you can move forward, that's just life. That's just the way life is. That's the way it will always be. And that's okay. I think that if we don't have obstacles placed in our path, then we are not challenged to move past them. So I hope you found this helpful, Group 1, Pear Blossom group. I hope that you, moving forward into this Empress energy, that you are able to recognize that, this all of the work that you've done has not been for nothing. It's laid the groundwork for all of the work that you're going to continue to do. So this is a little bit of a time of leveling up, a time of moving out of the darkness and into the light, so that we can photosynthesize our spiritual selves and grow all of that new foliage moving into the spring and summertime. Take care, be kind to yourself, be gentle with yourself, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Hello, Group 2. Welcome to your reading if you selected this lilac blossom. Put that there. And let's see what we've got. So I did pull a couple of oracle cards. And we have Celestial. And we also have Hawk Spirit. Let Spirit be your guide. That is some beautiful energy right there. We also have, for your energy, we have the Hermit, the Daughter of Arrows, and the Two of Cups. Well, that is some lovely energy. And then for the energy that the equinox time will be bringing you, we have the Magician, the Ten of Wands, and the Tower. Oof, okay. Now let's take a look at how those energies are going to play between each other. Interesting. Okay, and we have the Death card, the Three of Cups, and the Eight of Wands for how that energy is going to mix in. So what I'm seeing here, especially with both the Celestial and the Hawk Spirit animal card showing up, animal oracle card, I really feel that you are perhaps a deeply spiritual person, and coming out of winter and heading into early spring, you have very much been in this hermit energy, going within to try and find your own light. And what's interesting is that, especially with this Two of Cups card, I feel like, okay, so it's interesting. So the Daughter of Arrows also showed up in between these two cards. And in this deck, the Daughter of Arrows is represented by a sloth. And of course, a sloth is notably a bit slow moving, a bit glacially slow moving. So what's kind of what I'm really seeing here from these three cards is that you have been in a place of trying to find your own light, and it feels like it's going very slowly. This is also the earthy part of air, so sometimes it can feel like you're just stuck in a dust cloud, that things aren't very clear to you. And so you've been reaching towards trying to move into this Two of Cups energy, trying to find your own light, your own inner source of love, the own inner source of love for, this card can certainly show up and be with regards to another person, like a soulmate connection or a twin. It's not twin flame connection, I don't think. It's usually more soulmate connection. And soulmate doesn't have to be a romantic partner. Soulmate could certainly also be a good friend. But in this context, I really feel like that you're what you're looking for, that you are what you have been trying to connect with by going within, and that the own inner light that you've been looking for is your source of love for yourself, and that it's been feeling a bit slow moving. So that's kind of your energy. And then what's kind of interesting here is with the energy that the equinox is bringing to you, we have the 10 of Wands, the Magician card, and the Tower card. Now, with the Magician and the Tower card showing up together, it seems as though there is going to be a time of great change. And what I think is really beautiful, especially about these two cards coming out together, is that a lot of people will have fear around the Tower card, because oftentimes the Tower card is representative of things crumbling, things that are not in our control falling apart or falling down, and there can be collateral damage when that happens. And so I'm not saying that the concern or the seriousness is misplaced, but I think that sometimes people get lost to the larger picture, and the larger picture is that the tower must fall. The tower must fall because it is built on a poor root system. It is built on a root system that cannot sustain it. And so it must fall so that we can create anew, so that we can manifest something new. And with the 10 of Swords showing up here, I do feel like this energy coming at you is going to be a bit overwhelming. And it's interesting because I just got like full body goosebumps. So it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot coming at you. And that doesn't mean bad things. Like a lot coming at you could be like, I got 3 new job offers and one of them requires that I have to move. And so now there's just a whole lot to think through. It could be that you've made a new friend and that's amazing, but maybe it's bringing up for you feelings of insecurity around being vulnerable, or maybe it's a new partner. There's lots of ways that things can fall apart and feel overwhelming for the purpose of us manifesting something new. So it doesn't have to be something that's negative for it to be this sort of spirit of overwhelm and this spirit of feeling very in some ways not up to the task. And I think, okay, so now when we look at the way these two energies are interplaying with one another, we have the Death card, we have the 8 of Wands, and we have the 3 of Cups. So there is going to be some major transition and major transformation that is going to be happening here. And I wouldn't be surprised if, sometimes with the 8 of Wands, this can sort of come through as either messages coming at you, sometimes it can come through as interference, so it's kind of adding to the mix here of being in this place of looking within and kind of having things line up such that there's a real opportunity to shift things, moving into this place of allowing ourselves to transform, cutting back the things, the old growth from last winter, cutting back the things that aren't going to assist with allowing that new growth to happen. And, again, with the 3 of Cups here, I don't know why I said again, I don't think I've even addressed the 3 of Cups yet. Uh-oh, losing my lilac. With the 3 of Cups here, this is the, it's mastery. Like this person is standing on a pedestal, or on a bench. They are selling their goods to other people, and it's not quite collaboration, it's definitely working with others, but from a vantage point of not so much co-creating as much as have I been saying the Three of Cups? I might have been saying the Three of Cups. This is the Three of Pentacles, and I've been talking about it as though it's the Three of Pentacles, but for some reason in my mind, I feel like I've been saying the Three of Cups. I'm not going to edit any of this out, so if I have misspoken, my apologies for that. But anyhow, so with the Three of Pentacles, this is about putting in the work and also leveling up to a point where you're acknowledging that you do have mastery, that you are putting yourself and what you create in the world out there to other people. And that can sometimes bring in some interference from other. That can mean like, maybe all of this tower moment and you harnessing this magician energy and, moving out of this, being in this hermit place and having everything kind of come at you. This, maybe you'll take this as an opportunity to let yourself transform into the person that you were always meant to be. And that might bring feedback from other people. There might be people who have judgment about that. There might be people who have feelings about that. There might be people who want to share with you their thoughts on how you should live your life. And that's fine. People can do that. It doesn't mean that you have to believe it. It doesn't mean that you have to agree with it. This here is really like this person coming into an awareness of knowing that they've got the skills and having enough of a sense of self-worth and self-belief and confidence and self-esteem to put their good into the marketplace of ideas. So you really are moving into a transformative place. I do expect some people to, whenever we change a great deal, people do have thoughts on it because sometimes it is difficult for humans to allow other humans to change, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. But okay, let's pull a few more cards here and just see what we see before I send y'all on your way. Oh, losing my lilac again. Which, by the way, I think it's only going to be another couple of weeks before the lilacs are actually blooming and smelling so good, and I'm looking forward to that. All right, so we have here... Oh, okay, all right. We have the Four of Wands, which... I love this card. I really do. I love this card because it is a place of balance. Fours are very solid numbers, and especially with so much chaos kind of coming at you, I think it's important to remember that we do always have access to our own internal place of stability. Like we are a complete being in and of ourselves, that we have everything we need. So, well, sometimes, especially if there's a lot of incoming information from others, it can feel like those wands are piercing right into the heart of ourselves. And we sometimes, if somebody offers criticism, we feel like we need to take it. And, sometimes it's appropriate to, sometimes it's not. And we are best served by remembering that we are complete and whole beings that can make our own choices and do have our own sense of autonomy. Let's see here. We also have the Emperor showing up. So, the Emperor, I think this is also great energy. Like, in a time of a lot of chaos, in a time of a lot of change, when we are in a place where we are going to be harnessing, after the fall of the tower, after the moving the rubble from the tower, falling out of the way and harnessing that magician energy, it can be very, very good indeed to take some time like the Emperor and plan from a place of sort of removing ourselves from the situation and seeing if we can get more of a bird's eye view of it so that we can plan and move forward. And especially with that magician energy coming up, like you are being presented with some massive opportunities to really do the cool things that you're meant to do in the world. And so if there is anything that is worthy of having a solemn approach to planning, then this is the time for it. And I think it's interesting too that the Emperor is a 4, and as well as that 4 of Wands. So again, you're being really invited to yeah, I totally forgot what I was going to say because the 8 of Wands came out again, as well as the Knight of Cups. And, I love the Knight of Cups because this kind of harkens back to that 2 of Water, or 2 of Horns energy, that there's a yearning there to connect with the self on the most pure level. And it's funny because in this deck, this is the Thoth deck, and in this deck they call the 8 of Wands showing up again, they call it swiftness. So again, it does very much have the feeling that things are going to be moving very, very quickly. And what I'm getting here also from this Emperor card is, as you can see, he's not looking directly at it. So again, this to me is speaking to having that more bird's eye view of things rather than looking directly at, oh my gosh, all of these things are happening, I have all of these choices to make, and kind of coming at it from a sense of being hyper focused on it. Sometimes when we look away, we get clarity from what appears in our peripheral vision. I'm not sure if that metaphor is going to hit for anybody, but I personally have found it to be deeply true. Yeah, and also, okay, I haven't really talked about it much, but with these 2 oracle cards that came out, so we have Celestial. If you are a person who does speak to your guides and angels or meditate with your guides and angels, then I would recommend that you lean into that during this time of change and things coming at you and information coming at you, and kind of stepping into your own, and allowing yourself to transform. And also, for the purpose of letting spirit be your guide. So, it does feel very much as though perhaps you are a deeply spiritual person, and the energy that I'm getting, the message that I'm getting for you right now is to lean into that, lean into your spirituality in whatever shape it takes, for the purpose of finding your own truth as you're approaching this time of being able to really manifest and create, with all of your magician's tools. You've got it all, it's coming at you, and you've got all of that available to you. So really, harness that hermit energy of where you already are, and allowing yourself to go inward and connecting with your higher self or your God and or goddess, and just allowing, being in a place of allowance and non-resistance. That word just came to me and feels like perhaps that's something that you need to hear, is that sometimes, I think especially with the Tower card, the reason why it can feel so troubling and so painful to people is that we get wrapped up very much in believing that we are who we are, and that who we are doesn't change. And obviously the universe is trying to wake us up from that and help us to remember that things change all of the time, and that that tower energy, again, it has to happen. It has to happen for a reason. It's an opportunity. It's a massive opportunity to really allow yourself. Allow yourself to let the resistance drop away, let the stories of who you think you are drop away, and just allow yourself to actually be. I hope that you found this helpful. Please don't forget to be kind to yourself and to be gentle with yourself. And I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you so much, Group 2, Lilac Blossom Crew. Take care. Hello, group 3. If you selected the Forsythia blossom, then this reading is for you. So let's put this little guy here, and then we can go ahead and look at your cards. All right. So I pulled a couple of oracle cards for you, and the first one that came out is Voice, and for an animal card, an animal oracle card, we have the Wolf Spirit. Turn knowledge into wisdom. Love that. All right, so for... Oh, interesting. Okay, so we have the Lovers card, the Tower card, and the Son of Feathers card showing up for your current energy. And we have for the energy coming towards you, oh, that's interesting. That showed up twice in the last reading. We have the Four of Pentacles. No, I'm sorry. That is totally not a 4. That is a 9 of Pentacles, and the 8 of Wands, as well as the Daughter of Pentacles. That is just some truly, truly beautiful energy. And then for the interplay between those 3 energies, we have the High Priestess, the 8 of Swords, and the Wheel of Fortune. Oof, okay. So what I am seeing here is that perhaps you have been in a place of a lot of chaos. It's very, very interesting because we have both the Lovers card and the Tower card coming out here, and I feel like this could be showing up in a couple of different ways. Oh, sorry, dropping cards. Be right back. Here I am. Okay, so with these 3 cards showing up and representing kind of where you are right now, what I'm feeling like is perhaps there has, with both the Tower card and the Lovers card, you know, I feel like maybe there has been some chaos in your relationships. The Lovers card doesn't have to literally be about lovers, although it can be. It can also sometimes speak to contracts that we have. So not necessarily written contracts either. It can even be like covert contracts. So sometimes it can be about a relationship that we have to a job or a career or a friend or a family member, just somebody that we are in a sort of union, or an energy that we are in union with in some way. So this could show up a ton of different ways, but I do feel like there has been a lot of chaos. And, you know, with the Son of Feathers, which is sometimes also known as the Prince of Wands, you know, that is the airy part of fire. So, you know, it's well, it can be a message, a messenger of inspiration, you know, so it feels like you've already maybe been coming from a place where things are feeling very much like you've had to do a lot of adjustment, like things are kind of like falling out from underneath you, and you know, that it was unavoidable, that there was nothing in your control that you could have done to avoid that. So that it feels like perhaps this has been a place of, you know, perhaps where there's been some hurt happening, or there has been a new seeing of things, like a new understanding of things. And, you know, again, with the Lovers card, maybe that new understanding is, you know, about somebody in our life, or about something that we thought was going to last forever, that had a lot of solidity and longevity to it. And then, you know, here comes this Tower moment to tear it all down. You know, so it feels like there's been some really hard energy that you've been working through, which obviously isn't to say that everything has been bad, but whatever this one thing is right here, it does seem as though it's been a challenge, and like you really have been challenged to readjust, having to readjust. And with what's coming at you, though, I think is particularly lovely. Actually, we're going to start first with the Daughter of Pentacles, because this is the earthy part of Earth. I love the energy of this card. It is so compassionate, and it is so gentle, and it is so hopeful. Like there's a, I don't want to use the word naivete, because I feel like a lot of times the connotation of naivete is that that's something that we shouldn't be. And this is much more pure than that. This is very much the energy of a fawn. I mean, this is literally a picture right there. I think this is a great representation of it. You know, like it is gentle, it is beautiful, it is new, it is awe-inspiring, and has the capacity to bring such beauty into our life. And with the Nine of Pentacles as well, like this card is all about abundance and all about self-reliance and moving ourselves forward to a place where we can recognize and be in a state of abundance. And with this Eight of Swords, you know, sometimes this can come across as being interference. Sometimes this can come across as things moving very quickly into our space. It can sometimes be a lot of communication coming at us. What I'm really kind of getting from this card, especially in the context of how these energies are interplaying with the High Priestess and the Wheel of Fortune and the Eight of Swords, like, you know, I really feel like this is almost like that inspiring lightning hitting and seeing how it is going to resonate out into the world around us. And, you know, I'd like to, before I move into those three cards that talk about how the energies are interplaying, you know, I'd like to also bring us back to this wolf card. And wolves are such an extraordinary creatures, such amazing animals to watch. They are brave and compassionate and able to be self-reliant and self-sustaining while also still being a part of the greater whole. And with the message here of turning knowledge into wisdom, you know, I feel like maybe this difficult place of a lot of things changing and perhaps things feeling like they're falling apart and feeling like maybe you're having a new understanding of who you are, and the way that you see yourself. You know, this is all very challenging energy, and the energy that is coming at you is all very gentle energy. And so it's really about taking the knowledge gained from that chaotic period of time that you're in now and moving that into the wisdom that will drive you forward into that Nine of Pentacles space. And, you know, the interplay between these three is like, Spirit is telling you that you have the capability of channeling what you need in order to spin the wheel and create your own fortune, and moving out of chaos into centeredness, moving from change to a place of completion, and that this also might be very difficult for you to see. Gosh, I feel like I'm kind of calling myself out a little bit here, I'm not gonna lie. But you know, it's sometimes when we are in the place of when we are in the times of our greatest likelihood of change, sometimes those can also feel like the times where we feel most bound and blind, where it's almost as though things have fallen apart and we get stuck in that energy of falling apart and can't see that sometimes things have to fall apart so that we can create a new path. So instead, we will bind ourselves and we will keep ourselves blind to our own opportunities and to our own higher self. You know, we kind of cock block ourselves energetically. And, so that might be something that you may feel like this is how the energy is hitting, but this is the reality, is that Spirit is inviting you to connect for the purpose of moving out of this stage into another stage where there is self-reliance, where there is that Daughter of Pentacles energy, that earthiness of earthiness, the new fawn, born in spring, like how perfect is the timing for this, so even though you may feel very bound by what is going on, tune into your intuition, use your intuition, lean into your own self. And, with the voice card coming too, I feel like very much that the context of what this is coming into is affirmations. Maybe this would be a good opportunity, especially coming out of a place of, hurt or chaos, and being able to turn that knowledge into wisdom can be really helpful. Using affirmations can help us transform our thoughts and transform our energy, and allow us to see where we actually are rather than continuing to keep ourselves where we were, if that makes any sense. So let's pull a couple more cards and see if we can get some further information here. Let's see. All right. We have the Princess of Cups. So we have both the Daughter of Cups and the Daughter of Pentacles showing up here. And that is... what a gift. Like, what a gift. It feels like there's a lot of nascent energy here for rebuilding what was left behind, rebuilding from what was left behind after the debris from the tower is cleared away. And the other card that's showing up here is the Seven of Cups. And, so there is a little bit of danger too, because like sometimes the Seven of Cups energy is like we get stuck in our own mind, and sometimes it's honestly, it's just reiterating this kind of energy, that we're in this place, and when we're in this place, this can happen. So sometimes when we feel like we are bound and we can't move forward, we will instead turn to things in our mind and maybe lean a little bit too much on the energies that are in our mind, and that can lead us to this place where we're no longer recognizing the possibilities. Instead we're just recycling the same old thing. And one of the things that I'm kind of noticing about this card, what it's reminding me of is a fish tank. And that, if you have a fish tank that hasn't been cleaned appropriately or recently enough, then it can get a little sludgy looking. And so even though there is circulation, even though there are thoughts being circulated in your mind, if they are coming from a place of dirty energy or leftover, I don't want to say what's the word I'm looking for, it's almost like that energy of the tower falling. You might just be churning through unhelpful thought patterns that are like, because like the thing with the tower is that it's the tower has to fall. It has no choice, because it wasn't built to last forever. There was something faulty about that foundation or the rooting of it. And being in a place where you're continuing to just recycle that same energy can make you feel really stuck. But that's not the greater truth here. The greater truth here is that you have a lot of energy coming at you that is very gentle and very abundant and very, very much the air of self-reliance. And it can be hard sometimes to believe that of ourselves, but that doesn't mean it's not true. So, you're being asked to not give into that energy of recycling those old thoughts, and instead to allow yourself to move into a new cycle, into a clean new cycle that has a lot of beauty coming towards you, and that, the best way to do that is to tune in with your sense of intuition. Like, I mean, a tower moment could be that job that you thought you were going to be in for a while, and suddenly finding out that you were laid off, or that somebody got promoted over you, and that's something that's out of your control, but it doesn't mean you don't have to deal with it. And that can sometimes mean that we're getting a new opportunity to look inside and connect and be like, okay, well, this happened. I can't undo it and I can't change it. Perhaps this is an opportunity to move forward in a different way. And then the other card that is coming out here is the Four of Swords, which is, interestingly, that's a card that I think about a lot with regards to meditation. I feel like this card, being in a place where we can balance our thoughts, because swords are thoughts, or thinking, and it's being in a place where we can balance that, and be less affected by it. So it's, again, that sort of tuning into the more subtle energies of self. And the Four of Swords is a great card to, I don't know, every time I see that card come up, I'm like, oh, it's telling me that I should meditate, that I should try and get to that place of, or recognize that place of inner solidarity with self. All right, let's pull one more here. And we have, oh, isn't that funny? Eight of Swords again. Interesting. So we have the same card kind of showing up twice here. And so I think, really you are strongly being advised to tune into your intuition, to learn how to use your voice to turn knowledge into wisdom, to turn information and experience into wisdom, even if that experience has been unpleasant to go through. It's an opportunity to use what we've learned to move forward into that place of, how do you want to write your own story? How do you want to, this is the Wheel of Fortune, like, you have a lot more power to write your own life than you're giving yourself credit for. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe that this is you. Don't believe that you are continuing to be in danger, that you can't figure out a way to move yourself safely to a place. Because, like, if you look really closely at this card, you can see that it's pretty clear that, like, she's got this beautiful castle behind her, and those the bonds that are tying her, that are keeping her held, are not really very tight. She could shimmy out of that pretty easily and remove her own blindfold and blithely step around those swords without even getting her feet particularly muddy, and then make her way to the castle, which is very clearly in sight. So I think that I would like for you, if you can, to remember that, that this is all just self-limiting beliefs. This is all just self-limiting beliefs. But here we see instead that what we can have, what we can be, that energy that we can tune into, is that High Priestess energy, where we are channeling our own intuition, and that we are doing it from a place of being balanced between the two pillars. And yeah, it's interesting. I don't know why this came to me just now. Maybe somebody out there needs to hear it. But another thing that I'm hearing with this voice card is that sometimes song and singing, I mean, affirmations can be helpful too, of course, always. But sometimes if you're a singer, sometimes the voice like there's more than one way to get in touch with our intuition, is I guess what I'm saying. There's more than one way to be our own high priestess. And for some, it will be met through meditation. That's always a great way to do it, but it's not the only way. And sometimes, like, how some people say that they get their best ideas when they're in the shower. Maybe you're a person who moves your energy by using your voice. Maybe it's in singing, maybe it's not. But either way, you're very strongly being encouraged to tap into your own strength and your own wisdom here. And you can. Like, it's all already there. You already have all the tools that you need. You just need to recognize that. I hope that this has been helpful. Don't forget to be kind to yourself. Don't forget to be gentle with yourself. I look forward to seeing you next time. And of course, like, comment, subscribe. Would have been great if I had remembered to say that either in the intro or in one of the first 2 readings. But c'est la vie. Next time. Take care of yourself.